Well, it's my honor to be here tonight as the president of the Muslim Legal Fund of America, and kind of just a little appetizer before the main course of Matthew Ho. But wanted to share with you briefly tonight just a little bit about an organization here in Dallas that has been around for the last 10 years. It's called the Muslim Legal Fund of America. And the Muslim Legal Fund is a charity based in Dallas that actually helps Muslims face legal challenges. We collect money from all over the United States, and then we review cases. Anytime a Muslim is facing legal challenges, whether it's criminal indictment or if they've been discriminated against and we're suing somebody on their behalf. But we review cases, we evaluate attorneys, negotiate the fees with the attorneys, and then fund cases that we think have the greatest impact on the Muslim community. Now, one of the things that we do is the Muslim Legal Fund is in a position to help Muslims face legal challenges, which seem to be getting more and more on a daily basis. And we're not here to defend criminals. That's not what we do. But we think that we take cases that are politically motivated. They seem unjustified. Right now, with this war on terror, we have a lot of issues that are going through the courtrooms that aren't traditional in any sense of the word, that have to do with our civil liberties and civil rights. It's like our founding fathers, you know, when they created this country and they wrote the Constitution, they didn't write the Constitution for the government to control the people. They wrote the Constitution for the people to control the government, and for a reason. Not because the government's evil or does bad things, but its nature is to expand and to grow. And when it has that opportunity, it tries to be all to all. And in that process, it sometimes tramples over people for the greater good, maybe. But we don't like those people being sacrificed for the greater good. We believe that innocent Muslims shouldn't go to jail, right, just to give the public a false sense of security. If they didn't do anything wrong, we should have the opportunity to defend them. And we've taken some very high-profile cases across the country, and we continue to do that because we see that the government has been very creative in its ability to charge people with crimes. How many of you know that material support is a crime? Raise your hand. How many of you can give me a definition of material support? Raise your hand. Well, the reason that I say that is material support's easy. Anything that is material that actually benefits a terrorist organization is a crime, or an individual. So yeah, we understand the concept and we agree with that concept. You shouldn't be able to do that. But when people are working all over the world in war-torn countries and conflicts, and they're trying to provide humanitarian aid, is this humanitarian aid considered material support? If you give somebody a glass of water that happens to be with Al-Qaeda or Hamas or somebody else, or if you are over there and you're doing your work and somehow the people are mixed up, are you at fault? Did you do something wrong? And because these issues are not clearly defined, and we had a lawsuit that went all the way to the Supreme Court asking for clarification, saying, you know, there's all the charities working out there need some more guidance. In other words, tell us what we can and can't do, and define this term material support. Well, the Supreme Court said we're going to leave it open, we're going to leave it vague, and we're going to let the DOJ use whatever means necessary for security, and then let the jury decide if it fits the definition. So what we're having is people that are humanitarians, people that have spent their life doing nothing but serving others, people that have never had a speeding ticket are now being indicted with, you know, they're called terrorists, and material support charges are brought against them. And it's sending shockwaves through the Muslim community. It is wreaking havoc on families and communities and people and children, because these people have done nothing but be in an open book charity. They're telling the government we're doing this is how we're doing it, why we're doing it, where we're doing it, and then only to be charged with a crime after the fact. It's very sensitive. It's very difficult. We have preemptive prosecutions. How many of you read 1984? How many of you think we're pretty close to that today? How many watched Minority Report with Tom Cruise? What were they trying to do? They're catching criminals before the act, right? It's called preemptive prosecutions. These are happening all over America today. In Dick Cheney's time, Dick Cheney came out with what he called a 1% rule. He said the Department of Justice, now with this new war on terror, should act as if any time that somebody or an individual shows a 1% chance of harming the United States by ideology, by speech, by rhetoric, by actions, act as if it's a certainty. So they'll send an agent. If they have somebody that fits a profile, send an agent provocateur, hang out with him, be his best friend, see if there's anything, and manufacture the charge, whatever it takes, bring this person to justice. There's people in jail right now that are homeless people, that were homeless. Now I guess they have a home. But they hung out with a sugar daddy because he was talking big and handing them money, and so they just follow along and say, we'll do anything. We'll build Taj Mahal, we'll blow it up, we'll do whatever you want because you're taking care of us, sugar daddy. They're in jail right now. These preemptive prosecutions, these attacks on material support, these good people that have excellent characters, known character to the community, are now having to face serious legal battles. And that's what our organization does. We want them to have their day in court. We want to give them the best attorneys. We don't want to be railroaded. We don't want to be a kangaroo court. We want it to be a fair trial. Let them both tell their story. If they did something wrong, send them to jail. But if they didn't, let's not have innocent people go to jail so we all feel better about it. So that's our organization. I'm glad that we had an opportunity to share that with you. There are some books available. I don't know if they passed them out to you, Obeda. We have some pamphlets out on a table maybe you can take with you. They'll have more information about who we are and what we do. How much time do I have? 7 more minutes. All right. Let me talk about, I think I made it clear. One more thing. Right now, I think the most serious case in the United States for the Muslim community, and there's many, but one that is right here in our backyard, the Holy Land Foundation. How many of you are familiar with the Holy Land Foundation? How many of you heard in the news that they were convicted in 2008 of providing material support to terrorism? How many of you know anything more than that? Oh, good. A lot of people. Alhamdulillah. The Holy Land conviction is on appeal, and the reason it's on appeal is because the government had a theory that this charity was providing material support to Hamas in 2001, so they shut them down. And then after 4 years, they couldn't find one penny that went to Hamas, so they changed their theory. And they came back and they said, well, the Holy Land was in a conspiracy to provide material support. They added a conspiracy charge to it. And because it became a conspiracy, then the government was allowed to charge them with something that wasn't direct. They never sent a penny to Hamas. They never sent any money or any materials or anything that Hamas benefited from. But what they said is this charity sent charitable aid to Palestine, and that aid went through what's called zakat committees or charity committees in Palestine, and they delivered the aid. And the whole world uses these same charity committees to deliver the aid. But the government said that those charity committees, they believe, were under the influence or somehow operating on behalf of Hamas. And that when they delivered the humanitarian aid, which all of it was delivered, they said that it was winning the hearts and minds of the Palestinians for the organization of Hamas, because the theory is the one that delivered it was under the influence of Hamas, so it was Hamas giving him the food. And that winning the hearts and minds was the crime in this case. And we were shocked by the theory, and we tried to disprove that the zakat committees are not under the influence, and we did so the first time. The jury said that there's no way they believe the zakat committees were under the influence, and they couldn't find anybody guilty. The second time, the government convinced the jury that the zakat committees were under the influence, and they convicted them. How did they do that the second time? Well, we believe they stretched the rules of evidence beyond recognition. They used an anonymous expert. Let that sink in. You have the right to confront your accuser, but you're going to have an anonymous expert tell you about the zakat committees. And so many issues. Well, we filed an appeal. It's now in front of the Fifth Circuit in New Orleans to hear the oral arguments on September 1st. But we also now have shown this transcript, this trial record to the outside world and see what they think. And the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, this is called the NACDL. It's mainstream American lawyers. It's the largest group. And it's like 50,000 lawyers, attorneys, retired judges, military people. And they looked at this and they said, you know what? This has to be reversed. They read the transcript, they found out what took place in there, and they filed an amicus brief. It's basically they're throwing their weight on top of our argument in front of the Fifth Circuit saying this has to be reversed. So they agree with us that what took place should not have happened. Then we have the National Security Clinic in Austin, Texas. National Security Clinic teaches law at UT, but they also have the right to weigh in on any national security cases. If they see any issues that they want to defend or protect or promote, then they weigh in. Well, we asked them to look at the Holy Land. They looked at it. They said this has to be reversed. So they filed for standing to represent the Holy Land, the organization, in the Fifth Circuit. So they're going to go represent the organization under appeal. And then finally, we had scholars all over the country take a look at it. And one of them was David Cole, a professor at Georgetown University. And David Cole looked at it. He said, this has got to be reversed. He's a constitutional scholar. He wrote a brief, and then he showed it to other charities, not Muslim, non-Muslim. But he got President Jimmy Carter's fund to sign on. He got the Rockefeller Brothers Fund to sign on. He got the Rutherford Institute to sign on. He got the Council of Foundations, 1,750-member organization, to sign on saying this needs to be reversed. So we're sensitive, we're defensive about these issues, but we're saying that what's taking place in these courtrooms needs attention, and people that take a look at what happened in these courtrooms agree with us. So again, we're glad we had this opportunity. You can check us out at mlfa.org. We're online. We have some material you can take home with you if you care to. And now, and you can write a check. Yeah, I didn't know I could ask for money, but we would definitely appreciate any donations, because we're a total charity. We're tax exempt, and we don't get outside funding from overseas. It's just people like you and places we go and talk that people support the work that we do. So if you would love to donate, we also would be more than happy to accept. With that, I would like to move to our really featured presentation tonight. I think we're all here for good reason. For many years, I think we've all been watching TV, and we're making up our own minds as to what we think the war in Iraq is about, and whether we support it or we're against it. Whether you're an activist, a peace activist, or a hawk, you have an opinion about what's going on in Iraq. I mean, in Afghanistan. And right after 9/11, for good reason, the president decided to go over there and chase Osama bin Laden because of 9/11, and we've had military there ever since, and it continues to escalate. And our stated strategic mission is, I believe, and our keynote can correct me, but is to eventually stated objective is the eventual strategic defeat of Al-Qaeda in the region, and to shut down all the safe havens there in Afghanistan and Pakistan. With this objective, we have someone here tonight who thinks that we're not able to accomplish that objective, or we haven't so far. And Mr. Matthew Ho, who was representing the State Department as a senior civilian officer in Afghanistan, has the qualifications for making an assessment that's pretty impeccable. He spent time in Tikrit, is that how you say that? Tikrit? Tikrit? Okay, Tikrit, Iraq, and as a civilian and in the Department of Defense managing reconstruction, where he coordinated work access for 4 provinces and provincial councils, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and others. Later, as a Marine reservist, he led a company of 150 to West Iraq, where all social order had been demolished, and the firefights occurred many times daily. Then, as a civilian again, he joined the Foreign Service in Afghanistan and resigned 6 months later. Today, he's the director of Afghan Study Group, a network of foreign and public policy experts, and a professional advocating for a change in U.S. strategy in Afghanistan. Here to give us a talk, Rethinking U.S. Strategy in Afghanistan and Pakistan, please welcome Mr. Matthew Ho.
Well, thanks, Khalil. Appreciate the invitation. I think your remarks are appropriate because nearly 10 years after 9/11, this is where we're at. Okay, this is where our society has gotten to, where we have really the unjust persecution of Muslims in this country based on fear and some unreal expectation of vengeance for an attack made by 19 men using 4 airplanes over 10 years ago. And that's where